Hello and welcome. Today we have a couple of stories, including one about an entitled wife who didn't want her husband to have fun with his friends out of jealousy. Want to find out how he handled her? Sit back, relax and enjoy. First story. Am I the idiot for not wanting to give my adult stepdaughter her own room in our new home? I, 35F, have been with my husband, 43M, James, for 3 years, married for 18 months. He has a 21-year-old daughter from his previous marriage, Jane. Jane and I get along well, but she was already away at college by the time her dad and I got serious, so we don't have a very close relationship. James and First are looking to purchase a home together because our current home is not going to work for me in the long term due to some disabilities. We've found a few we liked and we were discussing our options when I referred to the third bedroom as the guest room. James asked what First meant because that would be Jane's room. This led to an argument between us because I don't think Jane needs a dedicated bedroom in our new home. She's renting her own place now, with roommates, year-round, no more student housing. And she still has her room at her mom's house. Of course, she's always welcome to visit, and if she were to ever need to move back in, then we could adjust at that time, but as it stands, she's an adult moving on to the adult portion of her life, and it seems silly to dedicate a room for her when she'll use it for 2 weeks out the year, max. My husband is upset with me still, but I really don't think his position is that strong. She's a grown-up now. Am I the idiot? Edit. US/Uptown 2114 DM'd me to ask if I had ever seen Jane nude. This doesn't add anything to the post, but I fully believe in publicly shaming pervs. The top replies, not the idiot. As you say, she's a grown woman with her own grown-up home. Why on earth would she need her own room in your new house? Tell your husband to cut the umbilical cord. The funny thing is, it wouldn't matter if Jane had a dedicated room at Dad's new house. She has no emotional attachment to the new place. It'll just be a house to her that she visits occasionally. The second reply, not the idiot. I'm astonished at people calling you an idiot and suggesting your daughter should get to decorate a room in your house, which she doesn't live at. If my father tried to allocate me a room like this, I'd find it deeply weird. Have you got any indication about her feelings on this madness? The third reply. We haven't spoken to her about it, but she usually prefers staying at her mom's anyway, so I would guess that she won't be all that interested. The original poster replies. We haven't spoken to her about it, but she usually prefers staying at her mom's anyway, so I would guess that she won't be all that interested. The fourth reply. We gutted our son's room when he left for the military, floor to ceiling redone. Placed a queen bed in it. His dresser is still full of his clothes, and we used military memorabilia his great-grandpa left him as decorations/art. We added a shelf for his books and items in nice file boxes, aitA. His additional boxes of things are in his closet. But guests can hang things there and use the shelves in the closet. We use it as the spare guest room and his when he is home. When he ends up with his permanent home, then he can take all the framed artwork and memorabilia and I can just change it out with new decorations. Maybe that will be a happy compromise for you both. My son thinks it's nicer than a fancy hotel room, but he also lives in the barracks. Second story. Am I the idiot for telling my girl she had to move out if she was keeping her baby? My 45M daughter Lisa, 20F, lives at home. Last year her friend Emma, 21F, moved in with us last year after her parents moved to another state. She was having issues at home, aka didn't like the rules, and her and my DQter wanted to enroll in school here together. She pays us $200 a month in rent, but really it just covers the extra food and whatnot in the house. She decided she didn't want to go to school anymore, so she doesn't have a very good job. Her boyfriend Clint, 27M, has no job and lives with his parents. Clint is your typical, lazy, lives in his mom's basement, can't keep a job and it's everyone else's fault, kind. And in case you were wondering, yup, do not like him. A couple of weeks ago Emma comes home and excitedly announced she was pregnant. Since then, there are all kinds of things she now cannot do around the house because she's pregnant. Can't take out the trash, because pregnant. And the smell makes her nauseous. Can't clean her cat's cat box because pregnant. Can't clean up after herself because pregnant. And she is too tired. The list goes on. There had already been ongoing discussions happening with both Emma and my daughter about them not helping around the house, and it has caused a lot of tension. I sit down with them again about this, and Emma says she can't do so much because pregnant. But she has a solution. Clint can move in to help. I said absolutely not, and she got pissy and said, well, I'm going to need help, especially after the baby is born. I said absolutely not, again, and then she starts going on about how her mom is very abusive, and he can't keep living there, but he couldn't afford his own place for them, etc. I got fed up with the whole thing and said, if you plan on keeping that baby, you need to worry more about where you are going to live than your unemployed boyfriend because you need to move out of my house. She and my daughter got very upset and accused me of trying to force her into termination. I explained that I don't care what she does, but I don't want to deal with her pregnancy and I especially don't want to deal with a newborn in my house. Emma was crying and said she has nowhere to go. I told her she could go live with her parents, or with her BFS parents, but she had 60 days to move out of my house. So am I the idiot? The replies. I personally think you're not the idiot. They're not helping or contributing to the house really, and while you may have consented to her to stay there for a period, you didn't agree to take in a whole family. Original poster was generous allowing her to move in the first place with the bare minimum rent. The fact the baby doesn't seem to be an accident, or at least that Emma is very happy, signals she's a bit too comfortable there and has no intention of leaving or becoming independent. Not the idiot at all. If she doesn't leave now she never will, and original poster will be stuck with a newborn. Second story. Not the idiot. The problem I see is you gave her too good of a deal with rent. She took advantage of that and now wants to extend this to her boyfriend. She isn't your daughter and you isn't your problem. Charge her market rate for the room, and get her to move into her boyfriend's mother's basement. Original poster unfortunately needs to start the eviction process. If original poster waits until 60 days are up and then she still doesn't leave, they then have to start the formal process which could take months longer. Some states it's even harder to evict when the woman is near due to give birth or after the baby is born. Best to get the living situation fixed now no matter what her plans are for the baby. Third reply. Not the idiot. Good on you for providing a reality check. If she can't care for herself, how does she expect to care for an infant? If she does plan to keep the baby, this will motivate her to get her ducks in a row before the baby comes. If she decides to terminate, hopefully, this will encourage her to take birth control more seriously. If she and her partner already can't afford to rent a place, how on earth do they think they are going to afford a child? Some people that age are absolutely capable of providing for a child, but clearly not these two. Allowing her to stay would only cause further problems. Does she and the daughter expect to be able to live there forever? If you have it in you, try to be supportive but don't let them cross your boundaries. This is your home. Original poster. You could try to offer help in finding a cheap place for the two of them, or 3 if your daughter wants to go move in to help. Help teach them budgeting. Find job listings. You don't have to do any of this, but at least at the end of the day, you can say you're being supportive without having to give up your own comfort for who knows how long. And it may be more encouraging for them all to figure it out if they have someone they can ask even the most obvious questions to. From the post, it sounds like they all just want stuff handed to them, but they'll be learning pretty quickly that just is not an option here, and the best they can get is a small offering of help doing stuff for themselves. The third story. Am I the idiot for kicking my 20-year-old daughter, who I financially support, out of my house? I, 45M, am a single father to my daughter, 20F. She is an only child and her mother isn't in the picture. Her mother hasn't been in the picture since Isabella was 2. I don't think Isabella even remembers her and we don't talk about her. I haven't dated since me and her mother split up 17 years ago. To still live with me and be financially supported by me at the age of 20, Isabella has to follow a number of rules. I know this sounds harsh, but most kids move out at 18. I know I certainly did, and young adults her age are usually at university by now, but Isabella is very resistant to moving out. She has a job, but I've limited her to only working 3 days a week. If she wants to work more hours, she can move out and pay rent in her own place. I don't make her pay rent or pay for groceries, but she must help around the house when she's not working. I used to hire a cleaner for when I was at work and Isabella was at school, and the cleaner would come twice a week, but since Isabella left school, I require her to replace the tasks of the cleaner instead of just sitting around. She's not allowed to drink under my roof or be in my home drunk or hungover, as her mother had alcohol problems, and she's not allowed boys over. If she disagrees with or disobeys any of these rules, she's very welcome to move out. Despite these rules I have for my daughter, we get on very well. Up until recently, Isabella has been pushing against the rules, not completing chores, and I found some bottles of beer under her bed, which was the final straw. I asked her to please leave and she shouted at me. I thought she might be drunk, and, as that is a trigger for me, I left the room. The next day I firmly reminded her again, no alcohol in the house. She told me all her friends drink and that I was babying her, and I said that wasn't the reason and I just didn't want to, and she had to trust me. She told me that my being closed off and secretive about my reasons for things was ruining our relationship, and she never wanted to talk to me again. I told her she couldn't give me the silent treatment in my own house, and I gave her £200 and let her pack her bags and sent her on her way. Not caring where she went because she is 20 and old enough to know better. It's been 5 days since Isabella left and we haven't spoken even once. I miss her, and it is very reminiscent of when Isabella's mother left me, in a drunken rage. And I'm starting to think I may be an idiot for kicking my daughter out like that. On the other hand, she is too old to still be living with me, and she knew the rules were firm. We have discussed the consequences many times. The top replies, "You are the idiot. How is she supposed to become financially independent if you won't let her work more than 3 days per week? You could have been supporting her while she worked full-time to save money to move out. You've kept her financially hobbled and treated her like a child. Then you booted her because she didn't like it." Second reply, "There's a reason why eviction laws require landlords to treat complete strangers better than original poster treated his daughter. Reasonable people understand that even if you have the funds to move, you need time to make moving arrangements. Nobody can line up a new apartment with 0 notice. The only places you can get when you're kicked out, like original poster's daughter, are hotels and other short-term options, which are not appropriate places to move to if you have more than a few suitcases of possessions. Not giving a reasonable notice period is a recipe for homelessness, bad for the individual but also for the community that has an interest in not having people on the street that would otherwise be able to find a proper place to stay if just given a reasonable amount of notice to make the right kind of arrangements. This is why laws exists in most civilized countries to prohibit landlords from doing this kind of thing. So original poster takes his 20-year-old, unprepared daughter and puts her on the street with £200 and expects her to do what the law expressly recognizes that people generally are unable to do. The world's worst slumlords are prohibited from doing this. The fact that a parent could do this to their own child drives me crazy. Original poster, you are the idiot so very much." Third reply, "You are the idiot. Most kids don't move out at 18, especially in the UK, because there's nowhere to go and people that age can rarely afford housing. This is even more true when you limit her ability to earn money to 3 days a week. The age of drinking is 18 here, so she was doing nothing wrong in having a beer. And this week has been one of the coldest in recent memory in the UK, so you get extra idiot points for kicking her out with almost no money in a snowstorm. You have control issues that border on abuse." Fourth story, "Am I the idiot for wanting my husband to cancel a babysitter he got so he could watch the World Cup final? My husband, 35M, and I, 34F, have been married for 10 years and have 3 kids, 9, 6, and 3. He is a huge soccer fan, so obviously, he's been following the World Cup. He works from home, so he's been having the games on while he's working. I work in retail and have an inconsistent schedule, including working on weekends. With our 2 oldest in school, we've been able to work our schedules around our youngest so we don't have to put her in daycare. It can be hard on days we both work, with my husband being the one to alter his schedule to watch her. I am scheduled to work 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. both days this weekend. Last night I heard my husband on the phone with a friend. He mentioned something along the lines of, the sitter will be here at 8 in the morning, so that should give me plenty of time to meet up with you guys. Just get us a table and I'll meet you there. I asked him what that was about and he told me that he got a sitter for our kids on Sunday so that he can go watch the World Cup final at a bar with some friends. The game starts at 9 a.m. our time. I asked him when he was going to tell me about this plan and he told me he literally got off the phone with the sitter 5 minutes before he called his friend. The sitter is one we've used before, so the kids know her, but she charges a pretty high rate. We usually only use sitters for date nights, never for just one of us to go to a bar while the other is working. I told him he was being irresponsible by leaving our kids with a sitter so he can go drink and watch soccer with his friends in the morning. He said he's maybe going to have 1 beer during the game, or maybe none at all. He just wants to watch the final with his friends instead of at home because he knows the kids don't want to watch it. He said he wants to actually be able to focus on the game instead of having it on in the background while he's watching the kids. I told him that with what that sitter charges and him spending money at a bar, we will be losing money as a family even with me working that day. I told him we never get a sitter for just one of us and that we should be saving that money for when we can both go on a date night. I told him he needs to call the sitter back and cancel and he can just watch the game at home instead, especially since he didn't talk to me about this first. He said he rarely gets time to himself on weekends because of my work schedule and that this is a special occasion. He said he'll only be gone for a few hours and he'll be back before I get home from work. I told him he should have talked to me about it first, but he is still refusing to cancel the sitter. I told him that this isn't a special occasion, it was a game. A special occasion is an anniversary or birthday, not a soccer game. He is still refusing to cancel the sitter and I'm not happy about it. Top replies. You are the idiot. He handled hiring a babysitter to go do something. I would cry tears of joy for my husband to even know how to contact a babysitter and handle that sort of thing. Let the man go enjoy his time. The second reply. You are the idiot. He is being responsible. He has a special event, and you're working, so he hired a babysitter so that your kids would be safe and looked after, and he can focus on and enjoy his game without distractions. This isn't a weekly event, it's a one-time event. I fail to see a problem. The third reply. You are the idiot. This is a special occasion, so I'm not at all sure what your point is there. And you think it's irresponsible to get a sitter? That makes zero sense. If you're afraid of a net monetary loss, then stay home and watch the kids.